The Black Ops 6 season starts next week on Friday, December 6th, and being as the season is right around the corner, we have to do our power rankings before we head into the year. If you're new to the channel, I do a weekly power ranking after every single weekend of CDL matches, and obviously with it being preseason, I gotta get the baseline, the rankings that I'm gonna have going into the year. And I do want to say, this is just kind of going off of the very little bit of gameplay we've seen so far, so don't take this too seriously. These are going to drastically change as we get into the first week or two of the season. So if I have your favorite team a little lower than you want them to be, it's really not the end of the day. This is the preseason rankings. But let's start it off with number 12. I mean, it's going to be the Vegas Falcons, right? I don't know what to expect out of these guys. Are they going to be great? Are they going to be terrible? Who really knows? But the expectations, unfortunately, are super low for them because they've never really played against this level of players. So I have them at number 12. Moving up to number 11, I have the Boston Breach. Boston is a really tough team to rate. Honestly, like 11 through like 5 are super hard to rate because you can kind of put these anywhere. Some of these guys have looked great in the preseason. Sometimes they haven't looked as great. It's been all over the place. Obviously, last year, Boston was not that good, so I am taking that into consideration. And this team that they have going into this year was okay at EWC, but honestly, I don't think the hopes are too high for these guys. For me, Boston Breach is really just going to go to 11. Then coming in at number 10 is another team that's really hard to rate. It is the Minnesota Rocker. These guys are young. I think they're hungry, and I feel like their ceiling could be pretty high, but I also think their floor is pretty low. Another team that, like, I don't know what we're going to get out of Paul X. I mean, you got two guys coming out of the rookie year with Estriel and Geo. You got Nero on this team. This is a team that I actually think I might feel pretty good about them throughout the season, but for right now, I just don't feel good enough to put them over some of the other teams. Moving into number 9, I do have the Vancouver Surge. This is another team that, like, I mean, I love Abuza. I think he could be one of the best ARs in the game over the next couple of years, but the SMG duo honestly worries me on this team. With Hixie and 04, I worry that there's just not enough slaying power on this team, especially in respawn. 04 can get really active on the map and bring the pressure, but he's also a guy who's going to die a lot. Hixie was never a slayer, obviously, from what we've grown to see from him in previous seasons. So I don't know what we're going to get from the Seattle Surge or from the Vancouver Surge. And I'm probably going to say that for a lot of these teams, right? Like the expectations are all over the place for these guys, but I do think this is another team that if the SMGs are firing on all cylinders, they could definitely be a top 6 team. Coming in at number 8, I do have the Miami Heretics. Miami's a team that, like, they're pretty good online, and I honestly think this style or this type of COD, this really fast-paced COD, is going to fit their playstyle really well. I think Real's going to be really good this year. If they do bring in Rencore, I don't know if he's starting yet. He looks like he's been pretty good in the preseason. Honestly, Miami's just a team that, like, I feel like a lot of the community wants to hate on them because everyone's pretty much Optic fans for the most part in this community, and obviously, Optic fans aren't really a big fan of Vickle and Miami at this point. But I actually think Miami's one of those teams that they've looked pretty good in the preseason. I think their play style fits the game, and I wouldn't be surprised if they end up being a top 8 team at least to start the year. Then coming in at number 7 to round out the right side of the board here, I do have the LA Gorilla Mates. LAG Gentlemates, we're still not 100% confirmed on what their logo is going to be or what their official name is going to be because they haven't announced anything yet. Hopefully they do soon. This is the team that I've heard rumors they're doing good in scrims. This is another team that I worry about the slaying capabilities on this roster. Kismet's coming off a year where he really wasn't amazing, right? Sky's Priesta, same thing out of them. So we'll have to see what type of slaying we get from LAG or from Gentlemates this season. But like I said, I heard they've been doing pretty good in scrims. So I also think they have a veteran roster. You know, you Sky's, Kismet, Priesta, these are guys that they know how to work together. They know how to be good teammates. I think Linz is going to be really good this year. So I wouldn't be surprised if they come out pretty hot this season. Moving into number 6, I do have the Carolina Royal Ravens. This is a team that's looked good in the preseason. I think Gwyn's going to be great this year. I think this game and the new role for Vivid is going to be really good. Overall, this is a team that, like, they might end up being a roster change candidate at some point throughout the year, but I do really think that, I think especially like Gwyn and Tej already have chemistry together. I think they're really going to have good pacing with Gwyn, Tej, and Vivid. I just feel good about this team heading into the season. At number 5, I do have Cloud9 New York. I mean, Sib and Attach, great AR duo. Kremp and Mac are really going to be the X factor on this team, as for most teams, but Kremp has looked really good in the preseason so far on this game. So if he keeps up what he's been doing, I think they could maybe even be the 4th best team. You never really know, right? But they have a really tough schedule to start the season. So it's going to be interesting to see how C9 does early in the year. And if they do end up making a roster change, because with a tough schedule, and somewhat higher expectations for this roster, Those don't always go well together. So if they start to struggle early on, who really knows what's going to happen for them? And then to round out the bottom teams, right? The bottom 9 outside the top 3, I do have the Toronto Ultra. I think most people have Toronto as the 4th best team. I think Kleenex and Insight, you cannot count those guys out. And I think Jodeci's and Beans were some of the better players last season that weren't on the top teams. So I think this team, honestly, is just going to be really good. I think their floor is going to be significantly higher than most other teams in the league. I like their sub duo way better than most other teams in the league. And overall, I mean, I think they're just going to be consistent, right? I think they're going to be a team that is going to upset some of the top 3 occasionally, and overall is going to find themselves going to Sunday pretty often. All right, now to get into our top 3. Like the rest of this list, obviously, you can kind of do this in any order you want. I wouldn't really argue with you. For me, I am doing this in the most unbiased way possible, and I do have LA Thieves at number 3. Honestly, I might as well just put all of them on the board at this point. This is the order I have it in. OPTIC won the biggest event last year, champs. FAZE won the 2nd biggest EWC, and LA Thieves are, of course, a top 3 team, but they're new. We've seen them play together, and like, yes, they won the Kason tournament, which I think is really cool, but it was just a fun preseason tournament. Overall, man, I think the fairest, most unbiased way to rate these is in this top 3 order. If you had Thieves 1 because they've looked really good in the preseason, right? I mean, Scraps won a ton of preseason tourneys. Overall, they've looked really good. That's totally fair. If you have FaZe number 1 because they won the most recent of like the actual LAN events with EWC, that's totally fair. I really don't think it's all that deep. I know people are going to get mad in the comments. Someone's going to tell me I'm a fake Thieves fan because I don't have them number 1. People are going to tell me that FaZe should be number 1 or blah, blah. It doesn't really matter to me at the end of the day. It's a preseason ranking. Things are going to change after the first week, after the second week, and a ton throughout the year. But these are my rankings. Let me know what you think. Like I said, don't take it too seriously, but these are going to be updated every single week. I'm going to do a power rankings video. It should almost always come out on Mondays throughout the season. As long as there's matches the weekend before, Monday should get an updated power rankings video for you all here on the channel. So make sure to drop a sub. We're on the road for 7K subs before 2025 rolls around. So if you like the content, make sure to stick around, and hopefully I'll see you all in the next one.